Hey guys, it's Liv here. In this video, I am going to be explaining how to protect your trees using hardwood cloth from animals. I use hardwood cloth to protect my trees from my goats. However, you could also use hardwood cloth to protect it from deer or other wild animals. I found it works extremely well and it really does its job to protect my trees. In this video, I'm going to be explaining the supplies that you need to properly secure the hardwood cloth around the tree. Then I'm going to show you the process that I use to properly secure the hardwood cloth around the tree. And then finally, I'm going to show you a tree that does have hardwood cloth around it compared to a tree that does not. And I'm sure that you'll really see the difference that the hardwood cloth makes. This is not a sponsored video, however, I found that the hardwood cloth was very easy to use, had a very simple process to putting up the hardwood cloth around the tree, and I just wanted to explain how to use it because I found it very helpful. So here we go. There were 4 main supplies we used when wrapping the trees. The first supply is the hardwood cloth. We also use zip ties, clippers, and scissors to cut off the end of the zip ties, but you can use clippers instead. The first thing that we did to protect the trees was we wrapped the hardwood cloth 1.5 times around the tree trunk. Overlapping the hardwood cloth is necessary in order for it to stay secure. The next part of the process was cutting the hardwood cloth. But before you can do this step, make sure to bend the hardwood cloth around the tree trunk. It'll be a lot easier to secure it later on. The final step is to tie zip ties around the hardwood cloth. We use 6 zip ties in total per tree trunk, but use as many as you need to in order to properly secure the hardwood cloth. The last step was cutting the zip tie ends, so the goats wouldn't chew on them. I'm going to be heading into the goat enclosure now, and I'll explain a little bit more of how well the hardwood cloth works. So let's head on in. This is one corner of the goat enclosure. As you can see, the goats have eaten the leaves off of the trees. And actually, when I go closer, right here, you can see that this tree is not wrapped with the hardwood cloth. You can also see that the tree's bark has been eaten by the goats, and since it's not wrapped in hardwood cloth, it is not able to be protected. So I would highly recommend wrapping all of your trees in hardwood cloth. You can see Gruff right here. He's eating the leaves off of the branches of the trees. If you've seen some of our other videos, you'll know that we have stumps in our goat enclosure. This just gives you a good visual of how much the goats like to chew the stumps. So you can see right here that the bark has been chewed pretty badly, and it's like this all the way around. Obviously, we are not going to wrap our stumps in hardwood cloth. Hopefully this just gives you a better visual of how much the goats like to chew on the bark. This tree over here is actually wrapped in hardwood cloth. And now I'm going to move over to this tree right here, which is even better at showing how well the hardwood cloth actually works. So you can also see that the leaves are still healthy looking. Your goats may chew on the hardwood cloth, but none of our goats have ever torn a hole through the hardwood cloth, so I really would not worry about that. You can also put the hardwood cloth twice as tall on the tree. I found that this works very well to keep the goats off of it. I'm not too worried since our goats are Nigerian dwarfs, which is a very small breed. However, if you had bigger goats, or if you were worried about deer eating the bark off of your tree, I would highly suggest putting 2 layers of hardwood cloth around the tree. That way you know for sure that your tree is safe. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope that it was very helpful, and hopefully you'll know how to protect your trees. Medusa, you can't leave yet. We're not done. Come on. You can't leave yet. Medusa, you gotta look at the camera. Look at the camera. It's not real. Okay. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notification bell if you want to see our future videos.